This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome. An eventful day on The Drive.
Sure
I
is.
am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, news this morning, the Steelers have traded wide receiver George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. The Steelers get a third-round pick in next year's draft, in addition to a fifth-round pick in 2027. The Cowboys also get a sixth-round pick in 2027 from the Steelers.
Yep. I love the late pick swap. It's become such an Omar Khan thing, and it's exactly how I would handle NFL trades as well. That's not the story here, but it makes me chuckle. Did the same thing with Deontay, did the same thing with Pickett. All the time. We're close, just why don't we swap picks in a year or so? No reason to do it next year because you got a bunch, but you'll be happy by it 2 years.
Both move around.
Right. But big news. It was shocking to wake up to, of course. I kind of thought once the draft had come and gone, it's probably unlikely, but I can't say I'm blown away anyways. They weren't going to pay him.
They weren't going to pay him. I don't know if I don't know what George's reaction to that would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing that he's not going to get paid. People had suggested maybe he would do a hold-in in training camp. I didn't think he would go that route because he still wants to get paid in the league.
Right.
But the bottom line is that he had become – how many times had Mike Tomlin been asked after a game or during the week about something that George had done?
A lot.
In the game or, that kind of thing.
And
now,
I think there's a lot more that he wasn't asked about.
That being said, Pickens is a talented player.
Extremely.
I would have been very interested to see what the offense looked like with DK Metcalf on one side and George Pickens on the other. I'm not going to talk out of both sides of my mouth.
No
here.
question.
I think that would have been a very intriguing prospect. Again, as I said before, I don't think you would have seen a safety within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage with those two guys out there. But that doesn't mean that you can't get that kind of production / play or fear, at the very least, out of somebody else over there.
Yeah, I cut to the chase. I think there's another shoe to drop.
Yes, something else is going to happen.
I would imagine, and I don't think it's a Van Jefferson level.
No.
Bring in and sign Skoranek, or I think it'll be something better than signing Robert Woods.
Yeah,
and we can talk through a million options, which will be fun.
Robert Woods just covers your butt.
Right,
cover your butt signing.
It's an okay, with or without Pickens, it's a fine move, whatever. But it's not a game changer. It's not a feature player. It's not somebody that more or less never leaves the field like Pickens and Metcalf would have, which no question would have been alluring. I'm sure you've seen many fans saying, well, now the receiver room looks just like last year. Kind of. Yeah,
kind of, but not really.
It's better, but it's
kind of.
Yeah, I see where you're saying,
Look at it this way.
But I don't think they're done.
We just did our segment earlier this week on how we feel about every position on the roster based on where we were at last year at this time and this year at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel better about Calvin Austin right now than I did a year ago at this time.
Agreed.
He is an actual NFL wide receiver.
He's taking a step forward. Yeah.
I feel I like Woods better than I like what they got from Jefferson.
I'm gonna say they're probably the same tier, but I hear what you're saying.
Skoranek wasn't on the team. I
think
he is a valuable piece to this whole equation. We don't know much about Roman Wilson, but I'll say this. Now, DK Metcalf has had some incidents in his career of explosiveness in terms of penalties and things.
Oh, he's got a lot of flags.
But not to the level of Pickens.
I think it's totally different. Like, I keep hearing DK Metcalf's a diva, he's a selfish guy. I don't think so. I think he gets riled up on the field and can get instigated, and people know it, and he needs to control that because he has gotten flagged.
He's gotten flagged for it.
But I don't think he's the distraction on Tuesday, Wednesday, on the sidelines, in the locker room that Pickens was, or in terms of popularity in the locker room. I think DK is going to win that contest. We'll leave it at that. Right. I don't know that Pickens had to go, But he was going, and whether it's a year from now or now, I mean, that's going to happen, I think. And it could be good for him.
To your point about why it happened now and not before or during the draft, I think other teams knew that.
I think Dallas wanted the big dude out of Arizona. I think they wanted Ted McMillan.
Well, I think that right before the draft, Jerry Jones comes out and said, we got a couple of trades in the works.
I'm sure they were talking with the Steelers.
That immediately piqued my interest. I'm like, okay, they need a receiver.
They need a receiver.
The Steelers could be potentially in the market for, to move a receiver here. But I don't think that the Cowboys at that time were willing to offer a third-round draft pick.
I think it was Justina Anderson said they were offering more or less a fourth.
Which, all right, I'm not interested in moving him for a 4.
Right. Like, I liked Eric Enyeminer or the Stanford kid.
Yeah.
But that's not an even swap.
No.
I would rather have the assets for later to maybe go get a veteran, names that we'll talk about. And if I'm the Cowboys, man, I think I got a shot at T-Mac here. That's who I really want. Obviously, they didn't want Golden. We could probably call Amari Cooper if we have to, but I'd rather roll with Pickens. Highly motivated, opening room for Lamb. It makes a lot of sense to me for Dallas. If Dallas, after the year, wants nothing to do with them, they'll probably get a comp pick for him at some point. They're not a team that ever goes out shopping outside the organization. So it's a minimal investment for them, which could pay off huge. Maybe they love him and extend him, who's to say? But for them, it makes a ton of sense. For the Steelers, if you were not insistent, but strongly under the motivation that after the Metcalf trade that he's not going to be here long or he's on his way out, now's as good a time to do it as any because you got a lot of time between now and opening day, contrary to popular belief. Oh, now what are they going to do? Well, they got a lot of time to figure that out, for one thing.
They have a lot more draft capital with which to work.
Draft capital, too, right.
Yeah.
They're not going to make all those picks next year.
They are not. And, again, this goes back to the whole plan part of this process. If you had traded, I'm just calling up this year's draft. If you had traded him for a 4.
Yeah, Cowboys 4th or whatever.
The Cowboys 4 would have been, I'm just looking to see who was available here. Did they even own their 4? Doesn't look like they did. Yeah, okay. So Carolina used that pick. I don't know when they traded that.
Yeah, I don't know how they ended up with it, but okay, fair enough.
On Trevor Etienne. It was the 114th pick in the draft.
Okay.
George Pickens for the 114th pick in the draft.
In this draft? Yeah, I get it done.
And now I'm looking here to see.
It's not a wide receiver rich draft
what
anyway.
Receivers. Now, the Steelers took Jack Sawyer at 123.
Like, I immediately thought maybe Sawyer wouldn't have been the pick there.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, there would have been a butterfly effect.
Jalen Royals went to the Chiefs at 133.
I was a little shocked he fell. That would be kind of intriguing.
Emenor went at 136.
Yeah, I knew they were the two guys I thought, too, that fell more than you thought.
But those guys aren't 1-for-1 replacements for George Pickens.
Not even close. I mean, not even close. And you still would be looking.
You would still be looking for a veteran player.
Would you really be brokenhearted if one of those two was in Pittsburgh right now?
Not at all.
Not at all. That'd be
I
great.
like both of those players.
But they'd be like a Roman Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's...
And maybe, just maybe, the Steelers looked at what happened with Roman Wilson last year and said, okay, we really liked this player a year ago at this time.
It's pretty easy to get excited about guys on draft day.
But the problem with rookies is you have no track record with them.
No. That's
none.
What I mean, right. They get here and then you don't know.
You don't know what the guy's practice habits are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, does he play through injuries?
Yeah.
In the case of Royals, he's coming off of a major injury.
Ability to learn.
Right.
Just
all that stuff.
Press man coverage. We didn't see a lot of it, but we think he can do it. Well, maybe he can't.
Right.
Or can't yet. Or whatever.
Yeah.
I need a guy. So, again, if they're done, if this is the wide receiver room on opening day, I'll probably be critical,
Yeah.
And but I really think there's another shoe to drop.
And so you start looking at, again, so now going into next year's draft, they got their first.
Yeah.
They got a second.
Yep.
3/3.
3/3, right.
3/3.
Yeah.
2 4s, 2 5s, 2 6s, and a 7.
And a 7th. You're not going to make all those
They're not
picks.
going to make all those picks.
And everyone, obviously, we've talked this to no end, too. Next draft very well could be the quarterback draft for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Move up, go get Josh Allen or Mahomes, hopefully. But fifths and sixths and fourths don't get you real far in the first round.
No.
They're
but
lovely
they
to
will
have.
get you a veteran player.
Oh, they can get you a veteran player. I mean, between now and the trade deadline, you can get a lot for a fourth-round pick. You know, especially with the cap space the Steelers have.
Yeah, especially, and people might say, "Well, you're saying you wouldn't have taken a fourth for George Pickens." There's a difference here.
There's a big difference.
He's a player who's still on his rookie contract,
Right?
As opposed to paying some salary for a guy.
Right.
The higher the salary, the lower the pick I'm going to give up.
That happens all the time. Right?
And the same
right.
with a little older player, I'm not going to give up a third-round draft pick.
You see a lot of name brand dudes going for 6th and 7th this time of year or in camp because of money.
Yeah.
Right.
The teams just want to, he's not in our plans. Or teams come out of the draft.
There's a couple teams that drafted 2 receivers.
Hello, Chicago Bears. Hello, Houston Texans.
Packers.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden, boy, he's a big cap hit. We'd like the future pick and go from there. I mean, there's a lot of these guys that are interesting that way. Now, I don't know if any of these names that we'll bring up are truly available or not, but I will say 2 things. Players are more available across the league than people think. And not that everyone has a price. I'd sell my mom for the right thing. You can get guys. Wide receivers in particular aren't that hard to acquire. Now, everyone listens like, well, what about last offseason with Ayuk? The Steelers had some troubles. But
here's
receivers move all the time.
Receivers did move last year.
I know. The Steelers didn't land any, and there were so many and all that, but they move like crazy, that position.
The guys that they were trying to get a true number, like they wanted that really almost a number 1.
Right, and Ayuk would have been 1.
If they had traded for Ayuk is your number 1 and George Pickens is your 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it's like the Metcalf deal, right, yeah.
They weren't real interested in, going long-term with George at that point.
Right. I mean, I think the writing was on the wall, and they wanted a 2, and it didn't happen. But that doesn't mean it's
But they were ready to make the deal.
Right.
They were willing to make the deal.
You're right. And receivers aren't the most – it's not like trading for a left tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get receivers. And I've got a list of ones that would be real easy to get, a couple that are free agents, some that are bigger names that I don't know would be available or not. But they're options.
Well, let's start with the free agent guys.
Okay.
So right now you've got Amari Cooper's out there. Gabe Davis was just cut today.
Yeah.
You've got
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is still out there. Beyond that, I don't know that there's a lot that I'm super interested in.
Those are the 3 for me. And let's break them down a little bit. Because to me, Gabe Davis is not the answer, but he's free.
Wouldn't cost you a thing.
He has some similarities play style to Pickens in that he's fast and he's a downfield guy.
He would fit not necessarily as your all-the-time number 2.
Right.
But if I put him out there with DK Metcalf, you're back to the situation again where the safeties aren't going to be anywhere near the line of scrimmage.
Right. I mean, he's a vertical outside the numbers. And the fact that he's free and maybe league minimum contract is appealing to me. I've never been a big Gabe Davis fan. There's plenty of receipts, as they say, when the Jags signed him. I'm like, that's a terrible signing, But
for what they wanted him to do,
they
wanted him to be
like
a number 2.
Right. He's
like
a 3
full-time.
or a 4. Yeah. He's a rotational with Austin at times. He's bigger. He can get downfield. Keenan Allen is slow.
always has been,
and now he's slower than ever.
He didn't get any faster in his 30s.
No, but on 3rd and 8, he'll get you 9. On 3rd and 5, he'll get you 6. And he is an old man game that I think still translates some. Mostly slot, though. I would be more in the market
he's
for
pretty
an
much
X.
all slot.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more in the market for a bigger X-type guy, and that's Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of Amari Cooper homework this morning, and a lot of it I stole from Matt Harmon, our wide receiver dude, and he laid it out really well. And frankly, Matt said, I don't know if he might be spent. I don't know. But he said he had the weirdest year last year per his charting. When he was a Brown, he was open all the time, and the quarterbacks couldn't give him the ball.
Yeah.
When he was a Bill, he was never open, and the quarterback could give him the ball. Now, I thought at the time, is he jumping on a moving train?
That tells me he's jumping on a moving train. He's not sure of the offense,
right,
and what he's supposed to be doing out there. You don't go from being a guy that is getting open to then changing teams and you can't get open,
right?
Playing a lot of the same teams,
right?
You're thinking too much out there.
The other thing is he got injured before he ever like the day they traded for him. It went like 2 or 3 weeks before he even got on the field.
Yeah,
because I don't think he got injured as a Brown. I think he got injured in practice, like day 2 in a Bills uniform. So if you give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, he doesn't know the offense, he's trying to get on a moving train, they're a playoff team that the train's going a million miles an hour, and he might be injured or he's playing through an injury, but he's also not signed for a reason. He's on the market now. But he was linked to the Cowboys up until this morning.
Right.
And I don't know if he burned that bridge or how that went with them last time. But
he may not have even wanted to go there.
He may not want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been a Cowboy. So he would be free, too. He doesn't cost you a draft pick. He's had a weird career, but he's not young. But those are the 3 free agents. A name I have to throw out there, which sounds better than it is. I think he's still a Jet, but is Alan Lazard a free agent?
He's still a Jet. He just took a pay cut to stay with the Jets.
I knew there was stuff. I mean, everyone knows
you could probably get him for a 7.
For 7, yeah. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers' buddy. He's his whoopee. But he's not a terrible player. But I think he's more the Gabe Davis of he's not the answer either. You know, like I'd take Lazard over Woods now.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't
take
take
a younger player. He's proven with Aaron Rodgers. He's caught a lot of touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers.
He's had a better career than you think, and he's not just Rodgers' buddy. You know, I mean, he's a good football player. But he's not George Pickens either.
No.
You know, it's not like, oh, the room's great now. Again, for a 7th, I mean, those are the guys that I basically were calling free agents.
If you start looking at guys who could be available, now you're looking at...
This list is more interesting. That would cost you one of these picks we're talking about.
Immediately after the draft, and we even kind of talked about this earlier in the week, I think DJ Moore could be available.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, their first pick was a tight end. They already have Cole Kmet. That implies they're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. They drafted Rome Odunze in the first round and Luther Burden in the second round this year. And Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Bears, came out and said, basically, if you read between the lines, there were a lot of routes he didn't like DJ Moore's effort last year. Now, he's probably right. I haven't watched every bit of him, but he doesn't have that long-term reputation. He's not a dog. It was a...
If you trade
everyone
for him,
got fired in
so
Chicago.
Here's the thing with Moore.
Year.
If you trade for DJ Moore, he's essentially working on a bunch of 1-year deals.
I would say I don't know his contract, but they did just give him money recently.
So his base salary this year is $20.65.
Okay, they might want that off the books.
Next year it's $23.485.
Okay.
The following year it's $23.485. The following year after that $23.485. You're not paying any signing bonus.
So they did that.
They've done that.
And 23 might sound like a lot, but it doesn't 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. And again, they are like
if you were signing a free agent wide receiver, that would be the going rate for a receiver.
Yeah,
actually, probably less than the going rate for a receiver of DJ Moore's talents.
Yes, with a lot of guaranteed money in the deal with it, you don't have to be involved in. Now, I don't know if the Bears would move him or not. I mean, trust me, half of Twitter is telling me. I put it on Twitter as soon as I saw him, like DJ Moore ? Half of Twitter is telling me, "Oh, I love that for the Steelers. That's the best fit I've heard yet." Bears fans, no way. He's our number 1. We love him. Their moves don't imply that.
You drafted one in the first round last year,
right?
You drafted more this year. You drafted a first round tight end,
right? I mean, if I'm the Bears, how about that pick you just got? Send me for DJ Moore. All right, and of course Omar will be like, "Well, we'll do a pick swap."
And essentially, you'd be trading George Pickens for DJ Moore.
That'd be great, fine for the Steelers.
Yeah,
and you $20 million a year, $24 million a year, or whatever. And then if I'm the Bears, I might be like, "Hey, Keenan Allen, you want to be our slot again? Teach these young pups."
Yeah.
You know, like they wouldn't have to be done either. I'm just trying to think the teams that might move a player. That one, to me, is probably the best player you could get.
You mentioned Michael Pittman when we were chatting about this earlier.
I have mixed feelings about that one because he had a back stuff. No one used to have a back injury.
Yeah.
But he's pretty expensive.
It's not that expensive.
Really?
$18 million this year.
Okay.
$22 million next year. And then he's a free agent.
Coming off kind of a down year, but he's not old. I kind of like it. I mean, I don't like back hearing that, but I think Downs is probably their leading receiver. They also drafted a tight end.
They drafted a tight end as well.
They might need capital for a quarterback. They've got a lot of pass catchers. I mean, Adonai Mitchell and Pierce. He would be a good fit here. I mean, he blocks. He's tough. He's like a better Juju to me with more outside capability.
Now, another one that you mentioned, Tyreek Hill. The problem with Tyreek Hill, he's 31.
Right.
Now, his base salary is just $10 million. Mm-hmm. But for Miami to move him, it would cost, it's a $56.9 million cap hit. They got a lot of dead money there.
Yeah, and he has some allegations out there, and that wouldn't help the drama in your building anymore. Yeah. And I think he's declining. I mean, but his injuries were like a broken arm or something last year. It was something upper body. But he can still scoot, and you would never see anybody in the box with him and Metcalf.
Yeah.
But that's a volatile move.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
and I can't see the Dolphins doing that just because I don't know that they can take on that kind of dead cap.
Yeah, I don't think they're in the point where
it would actually cost them $27 million to make that move.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's worth it for them because I think their seat's getting hot too, and they need to win.
Jacoby Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody who's regular listeners to the show know our appreciation of Jacoby Myers.
He's a real solid number too.
His cap hit this year is $10.5 million.
Okay.
They would actually save by releasing him about $6 million in cap space.
Okay. Which I think they have a lot, but I don't know if he's in their long-term plans.
He's 29.
Jack Besh is a little bit like him already.
Yeah.
They just drafted.
If they get through, let's say they get into their camp here and they say, you know what, this Beck kid's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We can roll with this.
Bowers is their one.
Yeah.
The offense is going to go
We're
through
going to run
Genty.
the ball anyways.
Yeah, it's going to go through Genty. You know, I just think he wouldn't be that hard to pry away.
Yeah. I would certainly be interested in that.
Yeah.
I don't see Brandon Ayuk getting.
No, I don't either. I threw him out there, but I don't. I think he's the least likely to move.
So his cap hit this year for the 49ers is just $9.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Next
year, just signed him. Right.
Next year it's 15.3. His base salaries make him very attractive.
Right.
But he's not going to be back until the middle of the season.
I know.
So you're not going to make a trade for him.
It's pretty rare for someone to sign the week before, the summer before,
right,
and then get dealt.
But could you get Christian Kirk now off of?
I think that'd be an easy one.
They gave up a
7.
A 7 for him.
Because remember, the Jags were going to cut him, and then they would never trade him in division otherwise. They got one offer. We'll give you a 7 for him instead of cutting him.
I think you could go to Houston and say, hey, we'll give you a 6.
We'll give you a 6. Or
they're feeling good about that, even if it's,
They just drafted the 2 Iowa State kids.
They drafted both Iowa State kids. His base salary this year is only $1.255 million. It doesn't even affect your salary cap at all.
It doesn't hurt at all. I mean, he's more slot, but he can handle the outside. He's better than what you got. He's clearly your 2.
They were going to trade for him last year at the deadline.
I would say there's already been interest. I mean, to me, that'd be a pretty easy one, even if it's a 5th. You want to turn your 7th into a 5th? All right, we'll do it.
Well, we'll give you a 5. You give us a 6.
How about a pick swap? In 2 years
you're getting into the 5th row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one could easily happen.
And it clears out your room a little bit.
Yeah.
Opens up some spots for these young guys that you just drafted.
Yeah. Did you really plan on taking both Iowa State
You've never seen Christian
kids?
Kirk in your uniform before. Why not move him?
Right. You had him for a little bit. You upgraded your pick. I'm sure their plan was not we're going to draft both Iowa State kids. It was we like them both, and he's still there. Let's get the other one too.
Yeah.
Packers also drafted 2. Watson's basically out for the year.
He's done. Yeah, you're not going to get.
Don't even think about him. But I think Romeo Doubs, I
think you could get Doubs off.
I think you could get Doubs. That would be the name. And I think Rodgers played with him for a year.
Yeah.
So good or bad, but I think it factors in. He's fine. I don't love him, but I think I'd rather Myers, but I think he's good. I mean, I think he's probably
not a bad
a 3
football player. I mean, if you're looking at Dobbs versus Lazard.
Yeah. I'd probably take the younger guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd rather Myers. I'd rather have a couple of these bigger names, but it's not bad, and he's young.
Yeah. And he's been productive
mm-hmm.
in that offense,
mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I don't think I had any other names. I think that's about it.
And there'll be some guys as we get into again, once teams get these rookies into their OTA sessions and start, okay, this kid's learning pretty fast.
Yeah.
I think we can maybe move on from this veteran guy or anything. Those are going to happen.
Those are going to happen. So I think there's some options, that
probably more so than what there were last year.
Probably. And definitely, I know that's a long way down the road, but trade deadline, there'll be a lot more because there'll be teams that think they're in it that aren't, if that's something you want to do. And you could get something better than a Mike Williams edition, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, let's get to a break. We'll continue discussing this later in the show, but when we come back, we got the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears. Bob Labriola joins us right after this. And welcome back to The Drive. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and you'll recognize from the music we are now joined by the Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears, Bob Labriola. How you doing, Labs?
Well, I was going to be in a good mood, and then, the organ music started, and so I guess now I'll go back to the other persona.
Bob, the Steelers making a little bit of news this morning by dealing a certain wide receiver away to the Dallas Cowboys of all teams. George Pickens, now a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Catch you by surprise? Something you expected?
I think it's something in between. It didn't catch me by surprise, but it's not something I expected. I thought that if it was going to happen, it would have happened during the draft, maybe. But who knows? Maybe Jerry Jones didn't want to meet the price until he saw what he got in the draft, which, teams do that sometimes. In terms of the actual event, maybe that there are some things that we don't know. Like what George Pickens' mindset was, what his plans were for, training camp, all of that kind of stuff. And so I think that, it was time. He didn't seem to be growing, maturing, maybe is the better word. And, I don't think you want to wait until the trading deadline, because I would think then that the return would be even less, because this is a guy who is going into the final year of his rookie contract in 2025. And if you're a team that gets him, trading deadline is what, November? Late October?
Week
something
10
like
now,
that.
yeah.
Okay. You would be renting him for, less than half a season. Half a regular season. So, I don't know what you could get for him then, really. So, I don't think that this is the end. I think Omar Khan maybe has some other things up his sleeve, or, he's working on some other things. I don't think that the Steelers go to training camp with the core of wide receivers that they currently have on the roster. I think that there would be something else happening at that position. Again, that's what I think. I don't know anything. It just would seem to me that
it just seems to make sense.
And I don't know that they have enough numbers for camp anyway at that position. Those guys do a lot of running. I'm sure that some of the ones that they have on the roster currently, Danny Smith is going to have some plans for them at training camp too. So, you don't want to wear these guys out. They get soft tissue injuries, and they can't even help you on the practice field. So that's why I'm thinking, there's going to be something else that happens between now and the end of July.
Labs, do you think it's safe to say that the Steelers just weren't interested in giving him a long-term contract?
Well, that's certainly what is indicated by this. because if they were, well, Art Rooney did say in January that there were no plans to extend him this year.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how George Pickens would have reacted to that, or if he has already reacted to that, and we don't know. So, again, as I said, I think that this might be the best realistic outcome for this. I mean, it would have been great to have Pickens teaming with DK Metcalf and giving the offense what I would call a legitimate, 1-2 punch at wide receiver. A couple of NFL caliber, athletic, big play people. But, I mean, if it's not real, what's the point?
Yeah, you just didn't know. And, again, after 3 years of dealing with George Pickens, you quite honestly, you never knew what to expect from
it was a
not just game to game, but even sometimes day to day in terms of – and I don't want to say that he was necessarily he wasn't out, driving at the 100 miles an hour on on the roads or anything like that, or, getting in trouble off the field, but there were issues. And, some of it was maturity issues, and they had 3 years for him to try to work through some of those maturity issues, and they obviously felt that they didn't see enough growth there.
Yeah, and I also think, to be fair, changing offensive coordinators, revolving door quarterback.
Sure.
That certainly that's not conducive to a wide receiver developing, and especially a mercurial guy like Pickens. I think that just added to the fact that he didn't settle in from a maturity standpoint. So, as I said, I just think that the reality of the moment, where we are now with both the team and the player, I think that this was a decent return on the guy, probably the best you were going to get for someone, because again, even now, okay, he's traded to the Cowboys. He's going into the final year of his rookie contract.
Right, right.
Whatever he wanted from the Steelers in terms of money and length and that kind of stuff, he's going to want from Dallas too, I would imagine. And, Dallas has, Micah Parsons to deal with in terms of a contract extension this year. And what we've seen historically, or recent history anyway, Jerry Jones isn't someone who, gets these things done well in advance either. Mm-mm. So, who knows what's going to happen with that? And again, he's in Dallas. That's the NFC. Let Vic Fangio worry about him.
Labs, it obviously depends who's available, but would you think they're still in the market for a bigger downfield threat? A field stretcher, a go up and get it guy?
I think that what you said first is, the reality, depending on what's available. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can want whatever you want, but
if you go to the store and there's only green paint, you're painting the barn green.
Paint the barn green, yeah.
I'm just not real interested in a Roman Wilson Austin-sized guy.
Well, again, I don't even know who's available. Mm-hmm. I mean, is a Roman Wilson Austin-sized guy, and I'm just picking out a name here. Amari Cooper. What size is he?
He's much more of a bigger, on the line of scrimmage, man beater, 200-pounder,
Okay, well, because that seems to me to be kind of what's out there.
Yeah.
And there's the ridiculous ones, Odell Beckham and, that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. Whoever it is, it has to be someone. You got to bring someone in my opinion, who, is physically capable of practicing and lasting. I don't want any often injured or guys coming off serious injuries, elderly in terms of football years, that kind of stuff, because that's just problems waiting to happen. And, my understanding, well, at least this is the way it used to be. if a team picks up a player, passes him on the physical, and signs him to a contract, if that player then, after his career is over and doesn't play for any other team, if there's injury grievances, that falls on the last team that passed him on the physical. So in other words, you could be paying for all of Odell Beckham's previous injuries if that's the way you decide to go, if it doesn't work out. So, those are things you got to think about too, in doing these things. So, as I said, I don't know what's out there. The Steelers medical team's going to have to be involved. And I just don't know. This is me again personally. I don't know that I want a guy in his 30s with an injury history who's looking for maybe a 1-year deal, and then I get stuck holding the bag after, when it's all over.
After his 10-year career.
Well, but
most of which was played somewhere else, yeah.
Yes. So those are things I think that are going to be at play as the Steelers are looking. Omar Khan leading the way, combing the shelves in the store for someone to add to the roster at that position.
Well, Bob, here's one thing we do know now after this trade. The Steelers have their first next year. They have a second. They now have 3 third-round draft picks next year, 2 fourths if the compensatory formulas are correct, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and a 7th. By my math, that's 12 draft picks. I don't see them making 12 draft picks next year. So, I think that, certainly trading for another player would be on the docket or be something that they could perhaps look into.
You mean now?
Now, yeah.
Or
and before training camp or after OTAs or after
before
minicamp.
opening day or, right.
Yeah, who knows? Or maybe maybe you save them for next off season. Or maybe you save them for, when Roger Goodell steps to the stage there outside of Acrisure Stadium on April, whatever the date is going to be, 23rd, I think. That's a guess.
That sounds right.
And says, the 2026 NFL draft is now open. The Browns are on the clock.
Nice.
He's never said that before.
Well done.
Couldn't resist. But maybe that's the plan. I don't know. Yes, Dale, you could be right. Maybe I could be right. But I definitely think we agree on is 12 draft picks.
Yeah.
Well, but 12 draft picks, you're just drafting guys to cut them.
Right.
If you're making 12 picks.
Right.
Nice problem to have, though. I mean, they've accumulated these by design through the comp game. And
part of the plan.
Part of the plan, right. Always nice resource to have. You could trade up in rounds. You could trade them for picks the next year. You could use them at the trade deadline to get whatever. I like where they're sitting, in terms of just future draft capital / a lot of cap space, too. So they have a lot of options ahead.
Right. And it's going to be certainly fun for, the purveyors of mock drafts and all that stuff next year. If they do, get through this season with, the same number. But the one thing I just want to point this out, you guys may know this, but maybe some listeners do not. You cannot trade those compensatory picks
right. You don't own them
they're
yet.
actually awarded.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's a couple of weeks before the draft usually, and that's a general time frame before those become official. So some of the 3s, some of the 4s, we may be looking at them now as, likely compensatory picks, but until they're official, you can't throw them into any trades.
You'd have to trade your own pick, the Steelers
or Dallas's pick, as it were.
Right.
They've got some extra stuff here. One thing that Matt and I have talked about a lot here, Bob, is every time Omar Khan makes a trade, every single one of them, there'll be the main compensation, and you look at the DK Metcalf trade as an example.
Pickett, Deontay.
You traded the 2, but then you flip-flop picks in the later rounds. You get their 5 for your 6, or their 6 for your 7. Every single time he does this, it's like it's just a little give me a little something at the end of this.
I feel like they almost got a deal, and he's like, well, let me give you our 7th for your 6th, and that'll steal it. And who's going to say no to that?
Right, and he does it.
Adds up.
The other way too. When you're trying to get something from someone, you kind of mitigate what you're giving by doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the Herbig trade was that, the draft day trade.
Yeah.
It was a late switch of picks that was added on when the Steelers wanted to move into that round or move up in that round to pick Nick Herbig. So yeah, again, I think it's a nice way to approach things. And as I couldn't tell which one of you said this, but yeah, why not?
Yeah, right. Little something extra, Who's going to say no to that?
And it's not that much, to ask for or to give, depending upon which side of it you're on.
2 years from now is in this trade, but you'll be happy to have that 5th,
Yeah, right. And that's another thing that makes it somewhat painless.
Right.
It's 2 years away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just an interesting approach to this. Bob, rookie minicamp opens up this weekend. This will be the first opportunity for the Steelers coaching staff to get a look at the draft picks and, some of the undrafted guys. One thing that always kind of flies under the radar is they'll bring in guys for tryouts. And Terrence Garvin's one that made it coming out of a rookie tryout like that. I couldn't remember if there was anybody else off the top of my head that made the team coming, and not just made the team, was invited back. Mm-hmm. Terrence Garvin stuck with the team for 3 years and played 6 years in the NFL coming out of a
Jonathan Ward last year.
Well, yeah, he was a veteran guy, but yeah, I mean,
he was a rookie minicamp guy.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
You're allowed to have so many quote unquote veterans who are unsigned on your rookie minicamp roster. But who didn't make it? Duck Hodges.
Right.
I mean, and that was only after Ben, his elbow blew up, that the Steelers went back to him. So, rookie minicamp is interesting to me. Always, if for no other reason, I like to mess with Danny Smith about this because you have to have a punter, a place kicker, a long snapper, and a holder.
Right.
And because if you don't, you can't practice. And if they're not competent, at least, not even NFL caliber, but competent, then you can't get anything done because then you're just using the jugs machine, for kickoffs and punts. And that doesn't really, you want to run some.
You want to simulate a practice so that your rookies that are going to be on the roster actually understand what a practice is going to look like.
You put 5 offensive linemen on the field, right? Yeah,
and your coaches too want to see.
They want to be able to evaluate, yeah,
right. And so you want to put them through a legitimate at least training camp practice replication. So it's putting this roster together is not necessarily an easy thing. I think the Steelers are fortunate. Couple of reasons. Will Howard, you got one quarterback that is capable of practicing at this time of the off season.
Right.
And you signed Ben Sauls, the Pitt
kicker,
place kicker as an undrafted rookie. So, you got a couple of things going for you right there. But one of the things that's interesting too is Ben Sauls is a left-handed kicker,
right.
Left-footed kicker, excuse me. So whoever you got holding, maybe you need 2 holders if a guy has never done it for a left-footed guy.
Would be a little different, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not saying that it's going to be a really revealing weekend in terms of what we may see on Chuck Noll Field in late July up at St. Vincent College. But, for those of us who are going to be there and need to, kill some time watching something, it'll be well, I don't want to get carried away and say it'll be interesting, but it might occupy a little bit of the hour and a half or whatever we're out there watching.
It'll be the first of, 150 football practices that I watch over the next 8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Our guest has been Bob Labriola, editor of Steelers Digest and Steelers.com. We appreciate Labs stopping by every Wednesday as he does. The Dean of Doom, the Lord of Living in His Fears. You're in a good mood today, Bob.
Things are happening.
I didn't hear the organ music until later on in my appearance. And so, as I said, I heard that "Here We Go Steelers" thing, and I thought, well, okay, I'll be my more optimistic, sunny self.
Anyways, we'll let you go, Bob. I will see you on Friday.
Yes.
Over at the rookie minicamp. Can't wait for that to happen, to get eyes on some of these guys. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, of course, we're talking a lot about the George Pickens trade today, and I had to laugh a little bit today. I can't remember where I was reading, but somebody was writing about the trade, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how Brian Schottenheimer, and look, I'm as big a Marty Schottenheimer fan as you'll.
Oh yeah, I know you're right.
Great guy, great
coach, right?
But his son Brian is now the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Has never been a head coach before.
No, it's an interesting endeavor to take on.
And now you're adding George Pickens to that locker room.
Yeah. I mean, you're always under more of a spotlight than any other team. Your owner is highly involved and does radio shows and whatnot. Expectations are high. It's a lot.
It's a lot to add to the plate of a rookie head coach, and that's what he is. He's been an offensive coordinator for a long time.
Yeah.
But he's never been the head guy. And they're talking about how he's trying to change the culture in Dallas, and I'm like, good luck with that. Right.
I think the culture in Dallas is only changed by one guy, and he's up in age, and he's pretty happy with how it's going. And McCarthy was good at those things. McCarthy's been a head coach for a long time, and can handle all those things. We'll see if Schottenheimer can. Now, George is really young. I guess he just turned 23 this week or something.
Oh, he's super young.
Super young. Came in the league really, really young. There's a lot of room as a human to mature, and maybe
absolutely. And for George's sake, I hope it happens.
I hope it's a little bit eye-opening to him, or heck, even if he fakes it and just on his best behavior for a season to go get a big payday on the open market, whatever. But it could be volatile. He's not going to be their number one receiver.
He's not. CeeDee Lamb is going to get targeted with the football. Now, last season, Pickens averaged just under 7.5 targets per game.
It's pretty good, yeah.
It spiked a little bit more with Russell Wilson at quarterback as opposed to Justin. So probably with Russell Wilson, it was probably closer to 8 to 9 targets per game.
That adds up. I bet there's more targets, or I bet they throw the football in Dallas more than the Steelers did last year. But I do think they want to run the ball, too. They drafted a big mauling guard in the first round.
And they throw the ball to their tight ends, and they spread it around a little bit.
And Lamb's going to get a ton.
CeeDee Lamb, here it's CeeDee Lamb's targets over the last 3 seasons.
Okay.
156, 181, 152.
Okay. And before this trade, he would have been my bet to lead the league in targets. Now I don't know that he'd be number one on my list.
He's not getting fewer than the 152
He's
got
getting
last
150 plus,
which was in 15 games, by the way.
I was say, didn't he miss time too? Yeah.
So he averaged basically 10 targets a game.
He's going to get his 10. He's going to get his 12. No question. And for him, if we're going to talk fantasy, I don't think it hurts him at all. I think his production's – I think he'll have higher quality targets. He'll face a lot more doubles. George will definitely help them, as he would have here, get people out of the box for the run game.
Right.
He's going to help his teammates.
Oh, I'm not saying George Pickens isn't a good player.
Whether he gets the ball or not.
Yeah.
Right.
But is he going to be happy? That's the fly in the ointment with this.
I 100% agree. I mean, it's a potentially volatile situation.
Yeah.
I understand the risk for them. I really do.
They didn't have a number 2.
They didn't have a number 2. It's a really good one.
They didn't really have a number 3.
Right. I mean, they're trading for Mingo and doing weird stuff.
If you had taken before this trade, if you took CeeDee Lamb off of their roster.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
might be the worst wide receiver room in the league.
It would be by 1,000, I think. I mean, I don't think they drafted one at all.
They didn't.
Right. I mean, I think they would have liked to, but it's back to what we've talked about for months. It's not a great receiver draft. They probably had T. McMillan or bust, basically. And so you make this move. And I think Amari Cooper would have ended up there if it wasn't for this trade.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
but I get it from their side.
I get it from why they're excited. Hey, we got this great player, and again, he's been a 1,000-yard receiver. He would have been a 1,000-yard receiver last year if he hadn't missed 3 games.
I think he's improved since he's been here.
Yeah,
I mean, his route running's more diverse. He's better after the catch. I mean, he's come a long way on the field.
Sometimes you must be careful what you ask for in terms of, the grass isn't always greener. And if Mike Tomlin was having issues keeping George Pickens in line,
right?
Do we really think Brian Schottenheimer in his first job as a head coach is going to do any better with that?
Right. It's a great question. Probably not. I mean, could a change of environment? It didn't even seem like Pickens wanted out. He didn't demand a trade. He never said, I don't want to be a Steeler. There were rumors that he thought about it and then didn't and wanted to play it out here because he wanted to be with Tomlin. Yeah. I thought that was never an issue. Like, what if he doesn't get along with the head coach?
This trade doesn't happen if Tomlin doesn't sign off on it.
Oh, of course. Right.
So
Dak's going to have a lot to do with it. I don't know who their wide receiver coach is. That's going to be an important aspect of it, too. How's his relationship with CeeDee Lamb? Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep. No, I really get it from both sides, and especially if there's another thing to happen for the Steelers.
Which we all believe that there is.
I'd be shocked if it doesn't.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And I'll be back with hour number 2 right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, hour number 2 here. As we've been doing all week long, we will dig into the Pro Football Focus fantasy football rankings here. We've done quarterback. We've done running back. We're at wide receiver today. How about that?
That kind of works out. Real quick question for you. Does DK go up?
Yes.
Does Pickens go up or down?
I think now that we know exactly, we'll find out where they have him ranked here. We'll talk about it then when we get to those spots.
Okay. All right.
I don't know where he's at. I haven't looked ahead on these.
Right. I'm sure this is pre-trade that they came out, though.
So they got Jamar Chase number 1 and number 1 overall.
I get it. I mean, he won the Triple Crown last year. It's pretty good.
At 2 and 2 overall is Justin Jefferson.
I'm not sure if I'd take him over Barkley, considering the quarterback situation, but I think he averages, don't quote me, but I think he averages more yards per game than any wide receiver in NFL history.
Been pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of speaks for itself.
At 4 overall in our wide receiver 3, Puka Nacua.
Oh, I would have CeeDee Lamb.
I would too. He's next.
I think there's a top 3, and then you can fight over who number 4 is.
I can't take Nacua.
He's really productive.
He's very productive, but are we forgetting that he missed a bunch of time last year?
I don't trust him to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I think he's really, really good. Like, I don't think he's a nice story for a 5th-round pick. I think he's one of the top 10 to 12 best receivers in the game. But Adams is going to hurt him. I mean, Adams is a legit dude. I mean, he's a lot better than the Shella Cooper Cup,
Yeah. And I don't trust it. Like, I wouldn't take him 4th overall. I wouldn't take him 5th overall.
I don't think he'd be my top 5 receivers.
Yeah.
He'd be a first-rounder for me, but not top
That would be, I'm picking 9th. Okay, I got to take Puka Nacua here and hope he stays healthy.
Like, I'm not taking him, I don't think, over
his style
Nico
of play
Collins.
lends itself to getting hurt.
And they throw him around, too. It's his style of play mixed with the offense.
Where they throw him the football at. And
he'll block defensive ends. And
At 6 overall and wide receiver 4, CeeDee Lamb.
I don't think this hurts him at all, the trade. I think he'll get higher quality targets, maybe 15 to 20 less, though, over the course of the year.
He's still going to get 150
He's going to
plus.
still get a bazillion, and he'll get less doubles.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have been the most doubled receiver in the league.
At wide receiver 5 and 7 overall is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
He's as safe as they come.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'd have him over Nacua. I still think Lamb's closer to the top 2.
At 10 overall and wide receiver 6, Nico Collins.
I'm 100% on board. I also would have him over Nakua. I don't know. Nico or St. Brown for you?
I would probably go St. Brown.
Obviously very close by your tone there, yeah.
At 12 overall and wide receiver 7, Malik Neighbors. So they're saying there should be 7 wide receivers in a 12-team PPR league. This is PPR.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, his target share was insane when he was healthy last year. Same coach. He was getting like 40% of the targets.
At 13 and wide receiver 8 is Brian Thomas. So you could come out of that. If you had the 12th pick, you could come out with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas.
I like it. New coach, but I think they're going to use him a little more in the slot from what I understand, which I didn't see coming. But he also has some Mike Evans traits. I don't think Hunter going there really hurts him either.
I don't think so.
You're right.
At 16 overall and wide receiver 9 is A.J. Brown.
This doesn't get the volume.
I can't use a 16th pick in the draft on A.J. Brown.
Much as I
love the player.
Love the player. It's unfortunate because he's much better in real life than fantasy. There's a lot of fourth quarters and second halves where Hurts might throw like 6 passes. I mean, like hardly throws the ball at all.
I would take this next guy over him, even though the quarterback situation is a little. Drake London at 20 and wide receiver 10.
I would too. London's
it's
really
the only game
solid.
in town.
Yeah. Pitts Pitts and Mooney are well down there.
This next guy would not be my wide receiver 11 or number 24. Wide receiver 11 is still wide receiver 1 on your fantasy team.
This position is a big time spot.
T. Higgins.
It's a little early, but boy, he put up huge numbers. Even when they both were healthy, they throw the ball in the red zone.
I get it, but there are times where, again, Burrow just gets eyes for Chase only.
Oh, he does.
And I'm watching. I had Higgins on my team last year. I traded for him, and I'm like, no, he got cut. He got cut in our league, and I picked him up.
Laughable, but
I'm like, and there would be games. I'm watching the Bengals game. The Bengals are on all the time. I'm watching them. I'm seeing them in person, and I'm like, Higgins is wide open there. And Burrow's going underneath to Chase with 2 guys on him. Chase is that good. I get it.
Sure. He demands targets, of course.
But you're just ignoring T. Higgins for large stretches of the game.
Yeah, 11 is a little high.
I can't go 11 compared to some of these guys who are right behind.
It's such a competitive position, but I wouldn't have him a whole lot lower.
At 26 overall and wide receiver 12, Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, he's clearly the one.
Yeah, clearly the one. I can't take somebody's number 2 receiver as my number 1 fantasy receiver.
Yeah.
That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
30, wide receiver 13 is Garrett Wilson.
I don't know what to think about him. Love the talent. He's clearly the one.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to throw it much, and I don't know that Fields is super conducive to great wide receiver play.
Yeah.
But you could convince me to take him around that neighborhood.
At 33, wide receiver 14 is Tyreek Hill.
I'd be scared.
I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, I'd be scared.
This next guy should be rated higher. Wide receiver 15, 34th overall, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, Debo doesn't worry me.
Doesn't worry me at all. Like, who else? Who's catching balls on a team?
I think that offense is going to be phenomenal.
He had some monster games.
If you look at Washington, too, all of a sudden they remind me of the Bengals. Their defense is pretty suspect and old. The offense is loaded, big-time quarterback. They could be in a lot of shootouts.
At 42 overall, wide receiver 16, Devontae Adams.
That's about right. Yeah.
This is more the area where I would have Higgins down in this as a number 2.
Really good number 2.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
At 44, Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver 17.
This is PPR, too.
This is PPR.
Leans more his direction a little bit.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot of targets.
At 45 and wide receiver 18 is DJ Moore.
I'd be a little concerned at that. I don't know that he's going to get a huge target share.
At 46, wide receiver 19, Mike Evans.
Still really good. Baker loves him. They use him in a lot of ways. I'm cool with that, too.
At 48, wide receiver 20. Out of sight, out of mind is Rashee Rice.
I've heard a lot of people saying they'd rather have Worthy than Rice. I don't see that at all, especially in PPR.
Yeah.
Rice is the move the chains guy. I think Kelsey's role is going to continue to diminish, and Rice takes some of that.
I mean, they'll manufacture some stuff for Worthy just because they want to get the ball in his hands.
Oh, yeah.
But Rice is the number one.
He's the chain mover.
Yeah.
He's a physical guy. He was great last year before his injury.
At 49 and wide receiver 21 is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Bit of a leap of faith, but I guess that's about where he belongs. He could blow up.
He was getting drafted ahead of that last year.
Yeah, last year was a little crazy.
At 50, wide receiver 22, Devontae Smith.
He would be the last guy we brought up.
I can't. Two receivers out of that
That's the thing.
offense in the top 22.
They just announced, too, that they reworked Goddard's contract. He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
Right. I mean, it's going to be hard to feed those three.
At 51, wide receiver 23 is Tet McMillan.
Ooh.
I can't go there.
Yeah.
That's a leap of faith.
I mean, McMillan versus Devontae Smith, I probably am not buying either at that price.
Right.
I bet there's going to be names that come up that are better, but they're definitely the worst two we've mentioned.
At 52, wide receiver 24 is Xavier Worthy.
I'm not totally sold there either. I mean, that three in a row, none of them are having me do jumping jacks for what you have to pay for them.
53, wide receiver 25 is Zay Flowers.
PPR, do you think he gets more than he has? Hopkins doesn't worry me.
No, Hopkins doesn't worry me at all.
It's just a tight end centric.
I think he should be a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, I might take him over all three of those guys.
Yeah. At 55, wide receiver 26 is Chris Olave.
He's going to get massive. He's like Wilson. He's going to get a massive target share.
I just worry about the concussion stuff.
You're right.
It is a concern. At 57, wide receiver 27 is Cortland Sutton.
He's pretty productive.
Yeah.
He's a clear number one. There's not much getting in his way. They gave him some money recently. He's not young, but who cares?
At 58, wide receiver 28 is Travis Hunter.
I'd love to have him on the team. I don't know if I can pay that price for him. He could blow up, but that could be next year too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
59, wide receiver 29 is Jalen Waddle.
Oh, I'd have him higher.
I would too.
I'd have him higher than the last 5 or 6 names we had.
We got some other teams
They
here.
throw the ball a lot.
They still we haven't gotten to their number one receiver.
Oh, I
yet.
know. Yeah.
And 62, wide receiver 30 is Jordan Addison.
He's never really been for me.
It's just going to be so hit and miss.
Yeah. He's good, but I think I'd rather have like Devontae Smith.
I mean, we are in the wide receiver 3 territory here.
We're not expecting them to all be Randy Moss, but
at 64, I don't understand how he could be this high. Wide receiver 31 is Brandon Ayuk. He's not going to play until midseason.
Yeah, if that's true, he's probably not even draftable.
Yeah, you're not going to. Don't waste a bench spot on him.
Like times have changed, obviously, in the last 24 hours.
Somebody else make that mistake.
But I'd have Metcalf over most of these guys we're talking about now.
I think even pre-trade I would have had
probably, yeah,
higher than
Devontae Smith, pretty much on down.
Yeah, 65 is Jamison Williams, wide receiver 32.
I'm starting to buy into it. They seem to really like him.
67 is one of those wide receiver ones that's well below a lot of these guys that were wide receiver twos. And I know you don't love the player, but Jerry Jeudy, who else is getting the football now?
Right. Doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. Flacco's actually very friendly for fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cares if he throws picks or whatever. Tillman could be on my team, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what kind of running.
When Winston was in there last year, and Flacco's just an extension of Winston.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
And Njoku as well. Those 3 pass catchers will get a lot of targets.
68, wide receiver 34, Deebo Samuel.
You're not worried about Deontay cutting into Judy?
How about the deal he signed? Vet minimum, no money guaranteed.
Nothing. I mean, like
he may not even make the roster.
Maybe he makes the team. I'm gonna have a hard time investing in Deebo.
Yeah, I am too.
I just think he's had such wear and tear.
70, wide receiver 35 is Chris Godwin.
I was going to bring him up when we talked about Evans. He was like wide receiver 3 when he got hurt last year. Now, maybe they bring him along slow after drafting Ibuka, but they wouldn't have given that money if they were at all worried about his knee. And he could be their wide receiver 1. Ankle, right.
Yeah.
He might be 20 spots too low.
He's way too low on my list.
Yeah.
That.
Maybe I'll do a little work on the injury, and I'm sure you won't see him in the preseason. But
we'll get news if he's practicing or not.
Yeah, he's a stud.
75, wide receiver 36 is DK Metcalf.
Too low then, way too low now.
Yeah, I think he belongs.
I'd have him over Devontae Smith. That seems like the line to me. The guys above him were pretty strong.
So you'd have him wide receiver 22-ish in that range?
Yeah.
He's the clear-cut number one receiver on an NFL team. Like, I don't understand why guys like that. I understand there's some, unsettled nature of the quarterback position.
I don't think Rudolph's going to be throwing the ball. I'd have Godwin ahead of him.
Yeah, I think Godwin's too low, too.
He's way too low, right.
Jerry Jeudy's too low.
Probably, yeah.
This guy's probably too low. Wide receiver 37 at 76, Jacoby Myers. Now, he's the number 2.
Yeah, he's not going to win your league.
But he should be he's a solid wide receiver 3.
He's got a lot better quarterback thrown to him this year.
Yeah.
Bowers will get his, fine. But then Myers is going to catch 90 balls?
I think so. I mean, that's what I think he gets 5 or 6 a game.
Yeah.
79. Ooh. Wide receiver 38, Cooper Kupp. Nope.
Ooh.
Nope, I'm not buying that.
I bet he doesn't play.
They're not going to manufacture catches for him in Seattle like they did in LA.
He doesn't have the Stafford connection. Durability really worries me, and separation really worries me.
Yeah. 80, wide receiver 39 is Juan Jennings.
Yes. I think he's like as underrated as you get.
Again, if Ayuk is out,
yeah,
Debo's gone.
Debo's gone, right.
Who else is
Pearsall's in the mix, and Kittle's the same role as always.
He might be their number 1.
He was really productive last year. And why would he change?
I don't understand that at all.
No. I think him versus Judy's a conversation to me.
Yeah, he's 15 spots too low.
Yep. He's just not a brand name guy.
Yeah. 81, wide receiver 40, Golden.
I don't know. Would you rather have Golden or Reed?
Reed.
I think I'd rather have Reed. Yeah.
He's worked at the quarterback the last couple of years.
I think Reed's really underrated, too.
I think he's good.
Yeah.
The Packers said, hey, we'll give you Reed. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be calling about him right now. Right. Yeah, that's rich.
83.
There's still a lot of good names out there.
Wide receiver 41. And they already have made the change to Dallas on here. George Pickens.
I'd probably still go higher.
If he's wide receiver 41 in fantasy, George isn't going to be happy.
Oh, no. I think he gets a slight bump with this trade, just because I think they'll throw the ball more. I know it won't be Rudolph, but I'll trust Dak. But not a huge bump.
George is going to get angry. 84, wide receiver 42, Rome Odunze.
I guess. Didn't do a lot last year, but I really liked him coming out of school.
Yeah. Here's another guy that's wide receiver 1 on his team. 85, wide receiver 43, Calvin Ridley.
I would have him a lot higher.
I would have him way higher.
Right.
Like some of these guys are number 2s on their teams and 3s.
I almost threw him in.
Cooper Kupp?
Can the Steelers trade for him guy? But I
thought about that too.
Yeah, I'm like, they got a rookie quarterback.
Yeah,
they probably
got to give him
won't.
somebody to throw to.
Right. But I think Ridley's going to get a lot of action this year.
Here's another one. Wide receiver 44, 96 overall, Khalil Shakir.
They signed Elijah Moore, and they got 1 million slots.
Elijah Moore doesn't move the needle for me whatsoever.
Coleman and Kincaid.
The next time Elijah Moore shows that he can play on a consistent basis will be the first time.
I just mean there's a lot of.
I get it, but he's the number 1 guy.
Number 1. I don't think that's a crazy ranking for him, though. Well, PPR should maybe be.
PPR, I'd have higher.
Yeah. I keep forgetting this is PPR, but
98, wide receiver 45, Stephon Diggs.
I'm probably on board.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Assuming there's no lingering issues, I think that's fair.
100, wide receiver 46, Rashid Shaheed.
Yes. Now, I don't love it if it's Shuck or Rattler.
Yeah.
But he's good at football.
114, wide receiver 47. If you could pry this guy away from this team, it would be nice. Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, I don't think he can.
I don't think he can, though.
And I think he'll have a very similar year to last year, which was really good.
He's good.
Yeah. I got a lot of Mooney stuff on Twitter today. I'm like, I just kind of ignored it. I don't think there's any chance.
Yeah. That might be an over-the-moon type.
And he's not even great. It's just
He's a good number 2
They
wide
were
receiver.
really happy with signing him, and he gave them more than they wanted. I mean, it's a perfect fit for him. Why would they move on from him?
118, wide receiver 48 is Jaden Reed. He's too
I'm buying
low.
that.
He's too low.
I'm buying at that. No doubt.
Oh.
He's a playmaker, man.
Yeah. There's like 5 guys in this area that I would take, and I'll bet 3 of them are just wide receiver 2s all season long.
Yeah. Reed could be their best guy.
He could be number 1.
Right.
Yeah. 119, wide receiver 49, Josh Downs.
I'm in on that, too,
Yeah.
even if it's Richardson. I think Downs is – they haven't mentioned Pittman either. None of
He's
these
next.
Colts. Okay.
Wide receiver 50 at 124 is Michael
That
Pittman.
was almost my question is who would you rather have for fantasy?
Yeah.
PPR, I think I'd
get
take
those
Downs.
2 being close.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a great accuracy passing
No.
volume
No.
team.
Wide receiver 51 is Keon Coleman.
Ooh, I don't put him with that group.
No.
I think he might be a bust. I'm not ready to say that, but
It's 1 year.
I know.
Yeah.
But he's worried.
128 is Emeka Egbuka at wide receiver 52.
I don't think he's going to see the field much early.
Yeah, what's the path to a bunch of catches there for
Right.
him?
Right. I mean, assuming Godwin's healthy, which I guess they're not assuming.
They got a really good running back in running game.
Right.
2 receivers ahead of him who are going to get the football.
McMillan's not bad either.
Yeah, McMillan's good.
Right. It might be a semi-redshirt year. He might end up with 500 yards.
If that.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a wide receiver 3.
No. Wide receiver 53 at 136 is Ricky Pearsall.
Maybe.
It's a little bit of a leap of faith.
Right.
He didn't do much of anything last year.
No. I mean, he also got shot.
He did. Not in Denver. At 137.
Did he pick it up at the end? Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had like 1 game.
Yeah. I would say there was one spark there somewhere.
Wide receiver 54 is Luther Burden.
Maybe. I mean, if DJ Morgan would happen to get moved to the moon with Burden,
Yeah.
I think that's why I bring up DJ Moore because I think
Right.
Burden's a lot like him, or they want
get
him
the
to
burden
be
in
like
hand.
him. Burden in hand.
Yeah. 140, wide receiver 55 is Christian Kirk.
Got a little cloudy for him over the draft.
It did.
I mean, it looked really nice when he's clearly the 2, but now there's 4
crowded
of
room.
them. Right.
Yeah. Marvin Mims is at wide receiver 56. I don't love that.
I don't love that.
Cedric Tillman is wide receiver
I
57.
would bump him up higher. I think he's the 2.
Quentin Johnston at wide receiver 58.
Does Mike Williams hurt him at all?
No.
I don't think. I'm not a big Johnston fan, though.
Jaden Higgins with the Texans is wide receiver 59.
Maybe, or he could have a total redshirt year, too. Who knows?
Yeah, we're down into the 150s now overall. Wide receiver 60, Rashad Bateman.
I would have him higher than some of these guys.
He's a spot starter. But
Yeah, he's a
basically
flex.
a wide receiver 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen at wide receiver 61.
I think he's still good. I almost brought him up to the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
But
100 years old and he's a slot.
Said this is probably his last year.
Right.
Okay. Wide receiver 62, Marquise Brown. He's kind of
He could come back
out of
to
sight, out of
reality.
mind. Yeah.
Right. He could come back and come in big. They throw deep a little more.
Romeo Dobbs is wide receiver 63.
I guess. He would be my 3rd Packer. I mean, he's ahead of Wicks, but I would still have him behind Golden and definitely Reed.
Yeah. Wide receiver 64 is Jack Beck.
I guess he's pretty NFL ready. There's no ceiling there.
Adonai Mitchell at 65.
I'm still a fan.
A 3rd Colts wide
Third
receiver.
Colts receiver, right. And Pierce is out there.
They complete like 15 passes a game.
And there's a first-round tight end.
Wide receiver 66 is Xavier Legette.
Okay. He's like Coleman to me, but we'll see if they can take a jump in year 2.
At 165, wide receiver 67 is Demario Douglas. Doesn't excite.
Doesn't move the needle a lot for me.
I'm just looking here through this. Alec Pierce at 71. So 4 Colts wide receivers in the top 71.
Maybe you could pry Pittman away from him.
Maybe, yeah. You got who else are we looking at? I'm just seeing if anybody else stands out here.
Like DeAndre Hopkins isn't even on the list, barely. Trying to think of some of the older guys that are Amari Cooper.
Yeah. He's here. Amari Cooper is right now wide receiver 72.
But I would take him at that. He's going to play football for someone. And be
Keenan
a starter.
Allen's at wide receiver 80.
I mean, obviously, how do you rank a guy that's not on a team? But
DeAndre Hopkins is wide receiver 83. He's all the way down there.
you even know his team.
Yeah. Calvin Austin is at wide receiver 88. 257 overall, so basically undraftable. Alan Lazard is wide receiver 90.
Do we think he's the Jets' number 2? Probably.
Yeah,
right.
Who else is he going to be?
He is.
Jalen Coker, who we talked about, I think is better than people
understand.
Him, yeah. Wide receiver 91.
That's one of the fun things about Dynasty is, like, I picked him up halfway through the season for nothing, and I'm happy he's on my team, you know?
Yeah. Roman Wilson is wide receiver 96.
If he could establish himself as a 3, that would go a long way.
Yeah. Darius Slayton down at wide receiver 100.
I assume he'll be the opposite. Wandell will be the 3rd.
Yeah. Dontavian Wicks is wide receiver 106. Still a Dontavian Wicks believer?
He doesn't catch the ball very well. I had high hopes for him last year.
Yeah,
he
had
flashes.
Yeah.
But drafting 2 receivers is not a great shot in the arm for Wicks.
Trey Tucker was the Raiders receiver that we were trying to think of the other day.
Yeah.
114 on Trey Tucker. But interesting.
Yeah.
How
about a number 2 in New England? Would be interesting to me. Whoever's not Stephon Diggs.
It's Pop Douglas.
I guess it is Douglas, but I'm wondering if Kyle Williams can go past him.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Not a wonderful rookie class, though.
It's not. And you don't see a lot of those guys ranked all that highly, unlike last year where I thought some of the rookies were overdrafted last year.
Yeah.
Particularly Harrison.
Harrison in particular was like, should we take him in the first round?
Right. I'm like,
right.
Tap the brakes there a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
But, I think, Metcalf should get a bump up. And Pickens gets a slight bump up, and I don't think that affects CeeDee Lamb at all.
No. I said I did a Dynasty podcast this morning with Marcus Mosher, who coincidentally, I'm a Steeler guy. He's a Cowboy guy. Just happened to be on that day. We both said, I'll give Freiermuth a little bump as it stands today.
Yeah.
I'm giving Metcalf maybe a tier bump, with knowing that if someone shows up, he could go back to where he was.
Yeah.
I gave Pickens a slight nod up, and I didn't give Lamb any bad stuff. I did say if a number 1 back emerges in Dallas, they'll be happy they have George Pickens.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll lighten up the boxes.
I mean, right now, Metcalf's wide receiver 36 is a low-end wide receiver 3.
That's a steal, right.
That's
I think
way
he's a wide
too
receiver 2.
Yeah.
He's in the top 24, I'm sure, if I were to rank.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson.
Pickens was getting 10 targets a game, right?
Right.
Metcalf's going to get 10. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to a break. That was the fantasy football focus for today. Tomorrow we'll take a look at those tight ends and see where things kind of sort out there. But that was Pro Football Focus's rankings. We'll be back with more right after this on The Drive. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on these very airwaves. Or you can call them airwaves if you're listening.
I don't know. I was actually thinking the exact same thing. I assume so.
I guess.
Yeah, we'll do it.
In the same
stratosphere?
Right. The same
oh, really?
Oh,
we spent this time together. Great googly moogly.
How about on the same bandwidth? There we go.
I think that's fair.
That's fair. Or you can download the Steelers mobile app, get it directly on your phone, and along with all the other great information there. Or you can watch or listen along on YouTube and give us a thumbs up there. Leave your comments. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments.
I bet there'll be a lot today. All right.
And in a way, when I woke to the news this morning that the Steelers had traded George, I wasn't surprised that the Steelers had traded George Pickens.
Me neither. I thought it might be coming.
But after the draft, I thought, well, they're probably going to stick with this and see what it looks like before anything happens here.
It's a really good-looking duo. I wanted to see what it looked like.
I wanted to see. I was intrigued.
Yeah, very.
I was intrigued by what that might look like. But I also understand the thought that what it might look like might not be not on the field. I do believe, and I firmly believe that it would have helped the running game.
I think, and it's a dangerous pairing. They would have made a lot of plays.
Yeah,
right.
But I also understand the volatility of it all. I don't want. When we first started talking about when Metcalf was raised as a possibility at the trade deadline last year. I said, I don't know if you can have George Pickens and DK Metcalf on the field together because of the volatile nature of that duo.
And I don't think they're as redundant as people think.
I don't
as
think so
players.
either. Yeah.
They both get downfield. They're both big. They're both fast. But they win different ways. And I learned more of that after I really studied Metcalf post-Steeler trade. But you can't have 2 flags a game between the two of your starting receivers.
No,
you know what I mean?
no.
Or whatever. Or a blow-up on the sideline.
And I don't know that Metcalf is
Again,
bad.
I don't think he's a diva or a bad guy or anything, but I think he knows, or the league knows they can get under his skin. You know, like that hockey instigator or the guy that...
He would not be the guy I would pick a fight with.
I wouldn't either.
If I were like a 5'10", 180-pound defensive back, that's not the dude I want to get on the wrong side of.
But I'd let him punch me in the face mask for a 15-yard flag.
Well, there's that.
If he's going to fall for it.
Yeah.
So hopefully he realizes that's a problem too. So
He's just farther along on the maturity scale
Oh, yeah.
than Pickens is.
I'm certainly sure of that in the locker room.
Yeah.
You know, and again, Pickens isn't a bad guy. He's not getting arrested. He's not doing bad things, but just he's young and immature. You know, I think they're both competitive. I think they both want to win. They're both highly talented. But yeah, I think you said it well, and I think Lab said the same thing. Am I shocked and surprised? No, but I would have bet they went into training camp with Pickens after the draft was in the books.
I think I just think that the Cowboys looked at this and said, "Hey, we didn't get the receiver that we needed in the draft.
We weren't willing to give you 3. Now we are.
Now we are."
Yeah.
And I think that when
there was a breaking point.
Yeah, when they met the price, it's like, okay,
we'll do it now. Yeah,
that was the ask, and we'll do it.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was Josie and Anderson or one of those said that Dallas offered a 4 in the draft. Pittsburgh saying that's not enough.
Again, a 4, I would not have been interested in a 4.
I'm not sure I'd have done a 3 straight up in the
draft.
You know, because of course you do things different. You know, you might not have drafted. I assume you still would have taken Johnson the way the draft fell.
Well, let's go and take a look at where Dallas picked him round 3.
Okay.
And what would have been available at that point. Remember, at that point, Kyle Williams had come off the board.
Like that would have been a target for me.
The Lions had traded up for Isaac Tesla.
Which I wouldn't want to be in that market.
Yeah. Where'd the Cowboys pick? They picked Siobhan Ravel.
Okay.
At 76. Jalen Knoll was still there.
Okay. Now that I would have understood.
But you didn't know that prior to a trade.
Like I imagine Cowboys are on the clock in round 3. They're probably not saying, "Hey Steelers, we're going to give you the 3 now." They're probably like, "Ravel's here, we're taking him."
Yeah, we're taking Ravel.
We have first round grade on him with a asterisk because of the injury.
Right.
We're not moving off this pick.
The reason why they didn't take they could have taken Jalen Noel.
Because they could have taken That's why I was thinking that too.
The Steelers took Caleb Johnson in that round.
And I don't think they'd have gotten much different.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a 4, would you have traded next year's 4 with his 4 to get Noel? Maybe. I mean, there's a butterfly effect. Who knows?
Savion Williams was there, but I didn't love Savion Williams.
That wouldn't do it for me.
He went to the Packers.
Noel was the only one that I liked enough to even consider. Again, I like
Ty Felton was the last pick of the third round.
That doesn't do it for me. I thought he went way too early. There were some receivers that went way too early.
Yeah, I think there was, because of the lack of receivers overall in this draft, you saw some guys getting overdrafted.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not jumping in on them. That doesn't make them better prospects.
No, it doesn't at all. If you start looking at that round 2 area, a lot of people thought, well, the Steelers are going to get a round 2 or second round pick for George Pickens. I'm like, I don't think that was
ever in the cards.
I don't think that was in the cards.
Right.
Jaden Higgins went in the second round.
Sure, I'd have swapped them straight up for Higgins.
Luther Burden went in the second round.
Yes, I would have done all those. Like I really
Trey Harris went in the second round.
Okay.
Jack Beck went in the second round, which to me was a little high.
That was a little rich too, right?
And that was it there. This just wasn't a deep receiver draft, which is why the Steelers made the DK Metcalf trade to begin with.
Right. Metcalf and Pickens are such great examples of this. So many drafts in the last 6 to 10 years, you get great day 2 dudes. You know, DK Metcalf was Deontay Johnson.
He was
Steelers.
DK Metcalf went the pick before Deontay Johnson.
I know, he was 65th overall.
Yeah.
Pickens was late. this year that you weren't getting the day two.
It just wasn't
stuff.
that kind of draft.
It wasn't that kind of draft.
We said that all along with this. I didn't love the receiver group. I liked some of those mid-round receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Jack Beckett, where he went.
Right. I mean, if you made this deal, I'm not taking Ibuka ahead of Harmon.
No.
Again,
yeah.
It wouldn't have. It wasn't the path.
Yeah. Now, I do think that, again, I think you can get a veteran receiver who maybe he's not quite as good as George Pickens,
mm-hmm.
but you can replicate some of that production. And again, I don't think with DK Metcalf on the roster, are you going to have enough passes available for both of those guys to get 8 to 10 targets a game?
No, but you definitely don't want life without your number one either.
Right. That's the problem. And we
problem.
talked about that last offseason. What happens if Pickens is out? Well, we saw what happened this year when Pickens was out. It wasn't pretty.
I mean, here's an old school Steeler reference. I might not need Swan and Stallworth, but I need Swan and Jim Brown. I need Jimmy Brown or whatever. Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith. I really dated myself there. But he was like a great 3 for the 70s. So it started for everybody else. We had 2 Hall of Famers ahead of him. I don't need 2 Hall of Famers or 2 Pro Bowlers, but I can't have such a drop from my best receiver to my second best receiver.
Yeah.
Need somebody in between there.
And the thing is with receivers, it's all about getting open.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a long time, and he might still hold the record, probably Antonio Brown. But there was a long period of time, 15 years, where the guy who held the record for most catches in a game by a Steeler, you know who?
Mm-mm. I bet it's not Stallworth or some obvious answer, right?
Courtney Hawkins.
Oh, wow. Kind of a jitterbug, quick hitters, get the ball out. He had a Welker feel to him, right?
A little bit, but yeah. I mean, that was you can get by with guys at that position. You don't have to have stars across the board.
No, you don't.
But you do have to have competent NFL wide receivers.
Right. Like, I'm not giving Van Jefferson a hard time, but you can't go into this season with Van Jefferson as your 2. And you would hope Austin's already past that and Wilson can get past that. But I need somebody still in between there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not thrilled with the receiver room as constructed right this minute. But they don't play tomorrow.
They don't play tomorrow. They don't play they don't play next month. They don't play the month after that.
And we've said this a million times. They're not using 12 draft picks next year.
They're not. And that's the thing to me that is the difference between this situation this year
and the Ayuk conversations
and last year
and all that. Right.
Like you have all these picks.
Right.
Like if somebody says, "Hey, give us we want a 5 or a 4." Okay.
All right.
We got an extra one.
Yeah.
Like I'm not worried about going into this draft this year going, or next year going, I've only got one 4th round pick. Ugh.
You're right. Or if it comes down to Team X is like, we want a 4th and Steelers said we want a 5. All right. We'll just do it.
Right.
Or
you get into it like a lot of those situations last year when you were talking to people at the trade deadline. Because there were a lot of receivers moved. Maybe Team A wants who has DeAndre Hopkins, for example, when he moved. The Chiefs are offering, well, we got 2/3. We can give you or a 4 or whatever it ended up being. And the Steelers going, well, we only have right now 7 picks. Right. We don't want to give up a 5th or a 4,
right? Or
to go over top of
an extra 6 just to get over them or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's like
you can trade 2. Yeah, I'll give you a 5 and a 7, or I'll give you
here's
a 4
all our picks.
4 and a 6.
What will it take? What combination do you need? Because I can create a lot of combinations to get it better than the other team I'm competing against.
Right.
And I got so much cap space.
In cap space
for this year and next year, et cetera. Like, okay, maybe this guy's contract's a little rough. I can swallow it.
Yeah,
it's not that bad.
Team B wants you to pick up $5 million of it. Mm-hmm. We don't need you to do that.
Yeah, we don't need you to do that. And I'll give you a slightly lesser pick or whatever. However you want to play it, I can contort my trade to make you happy.
Walking into the grocery store on payday.
Right.
I didn't plan on buying that steak.
Right.
But
looks pretty good.
It looks good. It's a good-looking steak, and I got money.
I can afford it.
Yeah.
I think there's more coming. Right. I'll be all right.
Where if I'm going into the store and it's payday's in 2 days, and I'm like, that steak looks pretty good, but I don't need it.
Right. Yeah. Or better yet, you walk into the bar on payday and you're buying rounds for people. you can get yourself in a little trouble that way. Right.
Yeah. But it's just you got a little more cachet.
Oh, yeah. You built it up for that reason.
Yeah.
It's just you're liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to another break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, sportslogos.net via CBS Sports reporting that 5 teams will get a alternate helmet this year.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be announced this summer.
Okay.
And the 5 teams, the Saints, the Chargers, the Browns, the Commanders, and the Steelers.
Really? How about that? I'm not big on logos and all those things.
I could care less. People
love
get
that stuff,
all
right?
Fired up over, the block letters, and I don't care.
I don't care about any of that stuff.
Could care
I
less.
really don't. But the Browns are probably my least favorite helmet. Chargers might be my favorite helmet, partially because I was born in 1973, and that was the only team other than the Steelers I cared about because Dan Fouts and they were way ahead of theirs. And they had cool lightning bolts.
Yeah.
But obviously the story here is the Steelers.
Yeah.
And the Steelers obviously have a unique helmet in that their logo's only on one side, and it hasn't changed.
We've seen
lifetime,
other
right?
helmets, the color rush stuff.
Yeah, right.
But it's just
So does that mean
interesting.
for like one game they'll do it?
That I don't know.
No, I wonder what
we'll
the
figure that out.
parameters are.
The Steelers and Chargers currently both have one base helmet. Of course, it's black for the Steelers. It's white for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also used the yellow alternate helmet. The Chargers have also worn a dark blue helmet in the past.
Okay.
So we'll see. I don't know. It's interesting.
I should know this. This is a really dumb question, but do most teams have 2 helmets?
A lot of them have different. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know the Steelers have one. I mean, there's same ones in your locker if you're home, road, playoffs.
Yeah, the one
whatever.
helmet rule was scrapped in 2022. Before that,
There was
you
a
had
rule.
Yeah,
Okay.
you had to have the same
helmet no matter what.
unless you're doing throwbacks.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Those were-
say like
That's how you get the silver, just a plain
Yeah,
silver
yeah.
Lions helmet. Stuff
that's
like
cool.
that.
I mean, again, it's not my bag. I mean, I know people are into that stuff. Or when my son was young, he always was like, "This player wears these different wristbands."
I could care
When
less.
he was like 10, he
It's
knew
one
all
of the
that
things
stuff.
that
I
drives
didn't.
me nuts.
Yeah.
I still umpire a lot of baseball games. I
Yeah,
do all
yeah,
different levels and all kinds of stuff. And you'll see every kid now, and actually Will Graves, who is the Associated Press writer in Pittsburgh, just wrote about this.
Okay. Everybody's their own
for
look
lack
and,
of it's an oven mitt that they base runners wear on the base pass.
Does it help that much?
No, and
I mean,
most
is the thought you could break your fingers if they get wide?
well,
or
that's
whatever?
that's what major league players wear for, because when you're diving back into the base, you want to have your hand protected because they
Okay.
play 162 games a year.
And they're millionaires,
Yeah.
and somebody's probably paying for the glove.
But you
or
see
whatever.
kids now wearing these things
as soon as they get on first. Or
as soon as they get on first, and at levels where they can't even lead off the bag, and they're not allowed to.
Oh,
and they're not
the
allowed.
rules
to,
are okay.
You're not
yeah.
allowed to slide head first. And,
Wow.
and they've got their because they see the pro guys
They
do
see
it.
the pro guys do it. Okay.
I had a kid. The one thing I was umpiring a game. This was a couple years ago, and I'm in the field, and there's the kid's leading off. It was an older level player, and he's diving back in first. He's got the oven mitt on, but he's got the hand that he's reaching back to get back to the bag with is not the hand that he's got the oven mitt on.
So they don't wear 2 of them.
I said to
it's
I saw
always
his,
a one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's the hand that you're going back into the bag with.
Yeah.
And I said to his dad after the game, I'm like, he's got the oven mitt on the wrong hand.
It's not even getting dirty.
He's like, yeah, he ordered that online, because he thought it looked cool, but he ordered the wrong hand. I'm like, that kind of defeats the
What's
purpose.
the correct hand?
The hand that you're going back in.
But is it always the same?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know
Okay.
why it would be your left hand, because at no time are you ever going back to the bag with your left hand. It should always be your right hand because you're going back in.
Okay. I would think it would always be your left because it's closer. Shows how I don't know baseball. If
Yeah.
I'm leading off first and I dive back in, isn't left closer?
No. It's
wouldn't go
it's
across
closer,
the
but
body.
you're diving back in. If you're diving back in with your left hand,
You don't get as much oomph.
yeah.
Okay.
Now you can go back in with your left hand just to,
I mean, if it's a lob over or whatever. Yeah, okay.
but
Interesting. And a lot of these ones you can't even slide head first.
a lot, the younger leagues, a lot of them you're not allowed to slide head first.
Can you
because
imagine
it's
Pete
dangerous.
Rose with an oven mitt on? Or yeah, that's dudes.
But so this stuff does matter. I mean, kids look at this stuff and
there's no question. I want to dress like Justin Jefferson.
I
want
get
to
it.
put right.
I just never cared about it.
It was never my bag either. But like I could tell my son's a lot more observant than me. I mean, he was a kid. He's 18 now. He knew everyone's dress code basically.
Yeah.
You know, he wears these cleats. He was a nerd about it too. He knows. I don't even know this stuff. Like all the different designs of helmets. Like he wanted to be an equipment guy. He's like, he should be using these cleats. He should be using this helmet. I know the different face masks, but I don't know the names of the helmets. You know, or who wears what. I'm actually really bad about numbers. My mind just doesn't work that way. And he knows every number in the whole league. It's just
I kind of get. I mean,
that I 100% get. It's definitely a weakness of mine. I don't know some star players' numbers. I just don't see them that way for whatever reason.
But I just always like one of the others. Completely off tangent here, but you see all the kids now, or all the younger players now, because major league players do it. They've got the elbow pad on.
I was going to ask about the armor.
They've got the shin guard on. They've got all that stuff on, and then they run out and they get a double, and the next thing you know, the first base coach is standing over there, and he's got 20 different guys' stuff.
Oh, he just holds everything. He's like a backpack.
There's 10 different shin guards. There's 5 different elbow guards.
They get a bunch of hits at it, and he's busy holding crap.
Do you really need all that stuff for a youth baseball game?
I guess next question, and I know you do older players than this. These aren't 6, 7-year-olds that are afraid of the ball, but so many kids in the batter's box are afraid of the ball. Obviously, they don't even want to be there. Mom and dad said you're playing. They're out there in jeans or whatever, But some of these dudes that have like the elbow stuff, does it help their fear?
No.
Yeah.
I still don't want to get hit.
I still don't want to get hit. I'm still bailing out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not like you're in head to toe right.
There's a kid a video out there of looks like what is a Pinto player, which is coach pitch.
Okay.
And it's I see it on Facebook all the time. And he's got the sun like Oakley sunglasses on.
They probably weren't cheap.
Yeah. And this $100 helmet and all the gear.
And everyone
on
has their own batting helmet now, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We don't just throw
just all kinds of the $800 bat, and I'm like. And all the comments on there are exactly what you would expect. Like, what are they doing with this? And like all these videos is just showing the kid swinging the bat. In that instance, I don't even know if I blame the kid.
No, I would not say yes to that. Even if you're the best player in the league.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not paying all that stuff. I mean, I don't know that we all need to share a cup like we used to. Or here's 3 wooden bats
that
to pick
reminds
from.
me of another situation where.
Right. Here, give Johnny your cup. Here you go. You're catching
we've gone
this
completely off the rails here, but I'm umpiring a game one time, and I'm behind the plate, and they're changing catchers.
Okay.
Catcher goes in, the new catcher comes in, and he stops. He goes, "Wait a second, I forgot to put in my cup." Okay, I call time. He goes in to put his cup.
Probably a good idea.
He had his cup. He had it inside his helmet that he was going to put on his face.
Yeah. At least he didn't set it like on his Gatorade, but that's pretty close.
Like, you had your cup inside your helmet. You see, I took it out when I was putting my stuff on. I forgot to put it on. He said, I'm like, the cup and the helmet, like the face mask of your helmet is going on your face.
It's on your face.
Your cup is not something you want to have anywhere near your face.
There's molecules in between too, and there's all kinds of stuff that could go wrong with that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should. Now, I don't think it should be our day where one cup is in the box that they unlock.
Everybody shares. All right.
Everyone shares, and it's full of sand and
that's not good either.
Hairs and whatever else. But there's a place for it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're well past those
Well
days.
past that.
Yeah.
Big day, though.
People don't even share
George
helmets.
Pickens.
But
I don't know. As I say, do we really need everyone need their own helmet too? Like, I don't know about that either.
Yeah. But anyways. But yeah, George Pickens traded.
Catcher's gear? Is it still pretty universal?
A lot of once they get older, they
if
pretty
you're
much.
A good
if you're
catcher,
a catcher, you have your
stuff.
own gear.
I'm sure you have your own
because you don't want to have to adjust it every time you put it on.
Right. Okay, that I can understand. But I would think all of mine. I mean, there's a set of shin guards and everything at every field,
you get the league. The league gives bags to everybody.
Yeah,
that includes catcher's gear.
Okay.
Now they don't all use it, but if you got somebody who's just learning to catch, you don't have to go out and buy all the gear. You just
throw this on, see if you like it. Right. But if you're good, you have your own stuff.
If you're a catcher by trade, you have your own gear.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like probably goalie pads the same way. Stuff like that. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyways.
I know goalies don't have to pay the league fee because it's really expensive for your kid to be a goalie.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Interesting show.
How about that? That's why we're going to watch George Pickens for 2 hours. Kind of did.
We kind of did. We pretty much ran the gamut on everything that, who's available, who might be available, the ramifications of this whole thing.
Tomorrow's Twitter Thursday. I'm sure a lot of you will be throwing names at us and stuff too. Bring it on.
Bring it on. That's what we're here for. But that's going to do it for today's show. We'd like to thank Bob Labriola for stopping by. For my partner, Matt Williamson, for CJ Wolfley here on site running the soundboard and today it's the CJ Wolfley hotline. And for Tyler Vittmeyer making sure our video gets out there on the YouTube. Give us a thumbs up there. I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.